Captain Paul for the Locker Room here. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe and let's get into it. The Montreal Canadiens were officially eliminated from the playoffs, losing against the Flyers 3-2. They are the 28th ranked team in the NHL, 75 games played, 30 wins, 39 losses, 6 overtime losses for 66 points. This was a team that was just in the Stanley Cup final 2 seasons ago. So why were they so bad this season? Injuries did them no favors. Kirby Dach, Josh Anderson, Dvorak, Armia, Goulet, Caulfield, Slafkovsky, Monahan, Byron, Hayek, Price, all of them are currently out, and most of them have missed significant amount of time. Missing that amount of players is very, very hard on an NHL roster. That's 11 NHL caliber players missing due to injury. Now I could go on about the particular season in hand and maybe have a negative spin, but let's look at the positives here in Montreal. The future's very, very, very bright. Due to them having all these injuries and kind of being out of it pretty early on in the season, allowed them to play some of the young players. And even some of the guys that have some experience, like Nick Suzuki, 61 points in 75 games played, they flourish and they keep developing. He's a promising #1 center that I think can eventually get to a point per game clip. Harvey Pinard, guy they have up now, 31 games played, 18 points. That's phenomenal production. Sean Farrell, they called up in 1 game played, he has 0 points. He's only 21 years old. You're giving these guys very, very good experience. Jesse Yolien, 32 games played, 16 points. And then on the back end, you got Justin Barron, 32 games played, 14 points. Jordan Harris played most of the season, 63 games, 17 points. That's really good for development. That's what you want to see. And the crazy thing is the Montreal Canadiens have some of the best prospects in the NHL. Lane Hudson, playing for Boston University, has had a phenomenal season. Owen Beck, he's looked good. Joshua Roy, solid as well. Sean Farrell, like he's been called up to the NHL level. Philip Mazar, Logan Mailloux, even with the controversy that came with him. And they even have a young goaltender in Jacob Dobes, who was drafted 136 overall in 2020. He had a pretty good season at Ohio State. These are just to name some of the more name-recognized prospects. The Montreal Canadiens are not that far off from being one of the best teams in the NHL. Some may argue potential and talent don't always translate at the NHL level. Some guys will never meet their potential, and I can understand that. But it's not just 1 or 2 prospects that they have. They have in the double digits worth of quality prospects that could eventually be NHLers. And the great thing I'm seeing for the cap situation, there's not too many terrible contracts. Jonathan Drouin's contract is up at the end of the season. He's making $5.5 million. While he's had a decent season, 28 points, 51 games played, is that worth $5.5 million? Absolutely not. So he will not be getting that anywhere else. Is $4.5 million a little bit rich for Mike Hoffman? Absolutely, but you only have him until 2024 and then he's off the books. The one contract that I think is a dumpster fire is Brandon Gallagher's $6.5 million for what he gives you at this point in his career. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he has a resurgence next season, but 6.5 for that amount of production is just not it. They have enough cap flexibility to sign a lot of their core pieces long term, and their prospect pool keeps getting deeper and deeper. It's going to be interesting to see how the Carey Price situation works out, though. Is he done? Some reports are saying that it's pretty much the case, but it's not a confirmed thing yet. And knowing a competitor like Carey Price, he's going to want to go out in his own terms, so I wouldn't really be shocked or shrug the possibility of him maybe coming back next season. But let's say Price stays on LTIR. You're going to be opening up cap space here in the next couple of years. You have a lot of young prospects coming up. The Canadiens, and I would say 2 to 4 seasons, will be towards the top end of the Atlantic. They just have so much talent and so much promise. The only true question I have about the Canadiens going forward is their goaltending. While Montembeault has been a nice little surprise, I'm not going to fool myself here. He's just a very good backup. And is Jake Allen gonna take you anywhere? He's 32 years old already, and goalies can be good towards the later part of their career, but Jake Allen, in my opinion, isn't gonna take you the distance. And by the time this team hits the ground running, he'll probably be around 35, 36 years old. And so it's gonna be important to see if Caden Primo, who's only 23, can come in and be a viable option for them at the NHL level. And Laval this season, 35 games played, 3.13 goals against average, a .906 save percentage, a 14-14-6 record, which, decent numbers at the AHL level. He's played 2 games at the NHL level this season, one of them which he started. The first game against Florida, spot duty, 7 shots against, 1 goal let in for an .857 save percentage. I'm not really going to hold that against him. The one game he started against the Philadelphia Flyers, while he did lose the game, on 26 shots against, he has 24 saves for a .923 save percentage. He looked good. He looked very, very good. This is a guy, when he played at Northeastern, looked absolutely phenomenal. He had an above a .930 save percentage in both years in college. And then in the WJC under 20, in 5 games played, he had a 1.61 goals against average and a .936 save percentage. He had a lot of promise. I think with goaltenders, it can just take a little bit of time for them to get used to the NHL game. That game could be a blimp against the Flyers, but I firmly believe for Primo, the talent is there. I think he could be a viable option. Now, what do they do next season? I'm not sure. Jake Allen is under contract until 2025. Montembeault is under contract until 2024. Unless Allen elevates his gameplay or Montembeault takes the next step, I just think goaltending right now for them is going to be the weakness of this roster. I don't think they're going to be a cup contender next season. They could possibly slip into a wild card just due to the amount of talent that is currently out and the young guys that are going to be in the roster. But I will say this, these are one of the teams that you have to look out for in the next few years. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And personally, as someone who has watched a lot of Lane Hutson games on Nesson, I'm kind of excited to see him at the NHL level. He's got a lot of great offensive upside. And as a Bruins fan, it pains me to say this, the Canadiens are back again on the rise. So to sum this up, in about 2 to 3 seasons, I really could see the Montreal Canadiens being a pretty dangerous team in the Eastern Conference. I would love to know your thoughts down below. What do you think of the Montreal Canadiens and their potential for the future? I'm Captain Paul. I'll see you in the next video.
Cross ice, one time, score!